Welcome to the regularly called City Council meeting. It is August 15th. Please rise as Dr. Robin Battershill, TISD Superintendent, leads us in the invocation, and followed by the pledge, which will be led by Fire Chief Lonzo Wallace. Battershill.
Would you please bow your heads? Heavenly Father, we pray that you give us guidance in making good decisions that are in the best interest of our community and of our schools and the people that depend upon us for those decisions, be in our hearts and our souls, that we can keep the games and the politics out of our decisions and we just make decisions that are right for our community. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we'll receive a presentation from Dr. Robin Battershill, TISD Superintendent, regarding the September 21st, 2013 tax ratification election. Dr. Battershill.
Thank you, Mayor Dunn and Council. I appreciate you having TISD here this evening. As you can see before you, our school board has called for a tax ratification election on September the 21st of this year. This is a continuation of a 10-year plan for Temple ISD. It began in 2007 with the bond that was passed by our taxpayers. Those are the items that were approved with that bond. In 2011, there was another bond. Those were the items that were approved for that. And then in 2013, we continued this journey with a tax ratification election for the items that are listed there. And I'm going to describe for you next the difference between a bond election and a TRE election. I thought y'all were ignoring me until I saw you looking at the screen. I was like that teacher and say, now, look at what's the teacher always teacher? A bond election. What a bond election does is it does bricks and mortar. It does, you don't feel like you have to look at me now. On a bond election, what it does is it does the outside of a building. It does bricks and mortar. For a tax ratification election, what it does is it does the inside of the building. And so the bond that was done in 2007, the bond that was passed in 2011, that was to do improvements for our schools. If you've driven through our community, I hope that you've seen those improvements. We're really, really proud of them. We have worked hard, and actually we won't be moving in at midnight the day before school begins. They will basically be finished this weekend, so we'll have a week to move into those schools. We have done that on time and on budget, and so we're really proud of those projects. What a tax ratification election does is it provides the inside of the school. And if you look over on the far right-hand side of the screen, it shows you the different items that can be done within a TRE or a tax ratification election. There are 366 school districts in the state of Texas that have held a TRE. There are 82.24% of those that have been ratified or passed. For the Temple ISD tax ratification election, this is what it would fund. We put them into two categories, one being safety, one being instruction and curriculum. Underneath safety, you see the presence of school resource officers and transportation. And then underneath instruction and curriculum, you see the items listed below there, and I'll explain those here in just a second. For school safety, we have 6 school resource officers currently. We've really tried to work with our partners, and so the City of Temple provides 4 of those SROs, or the school resource officers, through a grant. What happens, though, is these are all assigned to the secondary campuses. So if something happens on one of the elementary school campuses, then they are pulled to go to that elementary school. That may be for a short period, it may be for a long period, but they have to leave their secondary post in order to do that. So what a TRE would fund would be 2 dedicated school resource officers to split among the 8 elementary schools. When we did this was part of our long-range plan. We costed it out. So every time that you'll see one of these slides come through under how, you'll see the initial cost, which will be for the first year, and then you'll see the cost in the year 14, 15, 15, 16, etc. And we've done that out for 6 years to make sure that whatever is done with the TRE is sustainable and can continue on. For transportation buses, this is one that we have delayed purchasing buses because of our cuts in state funding. What the TRE would allow us to do is to put us back on our bus replacement schedule. Those are the initial costs. It costs $90,000 per bus, and then you see how it works in years 14 through 17, and again, we've costed out 2 more years. The bullet I want you to really pay attention to, 2 of them, is the last 2. Our school buses run 299 routes every day. It's almost 300 routes a day. That's 68,000 miles per month. That's a lot of miles. And then the very, very last bullet on that, we still have, Temple ISD was one of the last districts in the United States to provide transportation for students, school buses. That began in 1992. We still use those buses. Now, we are fortunate to be able to use them because we have good mechanics. But a 1992 bus has a lot of maintenance on it, and that's what we're encountering. We use those buses to go out on trips. We use our newer buses for our routes because you have to get your kiddos to school and you have to get them home at the end of the school day. And so the older buses are the ones that we send out for band trips, etc. And with curriculum and instruction, science and lab resources. The bonds of 2007 and 2011 funded new science labs as far as bricks and mortar for our schools, for our secondary campuses. What a TRE would do is it would fund the insides of those labs, the resources that go into them. We're really proud. Last year was our largest international baccalaureate graduating class ever. So we're thrilled that that program has continued to grow. With the science lab equipment, one of the things that we've been told through our various community groups is we don't want to just work on meeting state mandates. We also want to work for international standards. So that second bullet that you see, the next generation science standards, the NGSS, those are the national and international standards. Career and technology. If you read the newspaper this week, we're really, really proud of what's about to happen with Scott and White for this next year. This will be for students beginning in 7th grade and matriculating through the system. We went to Scott and White 2 years ago, and we said, what do you need as far as careers for Scott and White? Where are your holes and where are your gaps? And I thought it would be nursing, but it was in medical coding. And so along with Scott and White personnel, we have built out a class schedule curriculum for 7th grade all the way through 12th grade for students that graduate can be employed immediately by Scott and White and will be trained. And their starting salaries are between the $45,000 and $55,000. That goes right back into our community. Those are students that come through Temple ISD and then begin working at Scott and White upon graduation. So we are really, really excited about this program. This is one of 3 programs with that same model that we're looking at over the next 2 years. This will be our first one. Fine arts programming, as you know, we have a very, very strong fine arts program. We've looked at cost effectiveness of all of our programs over the last 2 years. When we looked at our fine arts program, we looked obviously at dollar amount spent for our programs. We looked at the number of students served, and we looked to see that we have diversity among our programs. What we found in our fine arts program is that our theater arts classes and our what I call visual arts, drawing, and our vocal classes have all increased in their enrollments. They were very diverse programs. However, 2 programs were not, and that was orchestra and band. And so when we drilled down to find out why, it's because the students couldn't afford the instruments. And so we just want to provide a fair playing field for our students. And so what this would do, it would increase the number of district-owned instruments that we could loan out to students that wish to participate in those programs. ACE After School program. This has been a grant for the school district. I'm going to ask you, have about 9,000 kids in the school district. How many students do you think are in our ACE After School program? To stump the council. I'll take you off the hook. We've had 3,000 students that have been served in this program for this last year. It's a lot of kids. As you see in the cost estimates for this next year, there will be nothing taken out of the TRA because we have 1 more year on the grant. But after that, that grant goes away. In order to sustain the program, the TRE would be used to sustain that program. All of our parent education, our food banks, our collaboration with various community groups, and you see just a few listed at the bottom, that runs through our ACE After School program. Student technology. This rolls out a technology program from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And the reason we're going for a kindergartner, because our children now come to school with the expectation that they're going to use technology because that's what their world is like. 20, 25 years ago, I'd like to say it's when I was in school, but it was a lot longer than that. We went to school and we were used to hardbound books. We didn't deal with technology. We were very content to sit there and listen to the teacher. Students aren't content to do that anymore because their world is full of a lot of different modalities when they're little. So they come in with a completely different expectation, and so do their parents. On the other side of the bookend, when they graduate from high school, what's one of the one questions that you ask employees that are coming to you? Are you comfortable with technology? And what can you do with technology? So on both sides of the bookend, we have student expectations of technology. The other thing that's really important on this one is there's a code of ethics that goes with technology. If you just give a child a computer and say go for it, they're going to tap into things that you don't really want them to tap into. So starting them very young and teaching them along the way, these are the appropriate uses for technology and these are the inappropriate uses, then we train them all the way through the system. We're using different devices for kids based upon their developmental levels, and we've researched this and we've studied it for the younger students because they don't have fine motor skills, they have gross motor skills, in other words, large motor skills. iPad minis are a better way to go for them. For grades 3 through 12, the Chromebooks are a better way to go because they can hook into our current software system, so a student that may be having trouble in math in school, they can access it out of school as well. They're less expensive, they've got a good lifetime on them, and we feel like they're more cost effective. This is what they look like. This would be the iPad mini. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. We don't need a 1-to-1 ratio for young students. We want them to learn to work together. We want them to learn to work in groups, so that's a very appropriate thing. For Chromebooks in grades 3 through 5, same thing, 2-to-1 initiative. Another one of our bragging rights, we have a lot of them right now. I'm really pleased to say, I'm the mom of the district, so mother can say I'm really proud. The Kennedy Powell is one of 35 elementary schools in the country next year that will be a Project Lead the Way campus. That's a STEM campus, and STEM for a lot of people means a plant, but STEM in education means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So one of 35 elementary schools in the whole country, we've been approved for that at Kennedy Powell. Really proud. For middle school implementation, again, a 2-to-1 ratio with the Chromebooks. One reason we wanted to start at 3rd, 4th, and 5th is so that students were accustomed to that platform whenever they moved into middle school, and there would not be a transition. Travis Science Academy, honestly, is an international baccalaureate program. And what you see right there is a docking station. The students put those Chromebooks into there and they recharge. And in high school, each freshman, along with their textbooks, they would be issued a Chromebook. That would be part of their curriculum. It would be part of their textbooks. I was asked this morning at something if we anticipate this decreasing the cost of textbooks over time. I said I can't promise that because I don't know. The potential is there, absolutely, but within the first year, just because a lot of our textbooks are not electronic at this point in time, I can't make that promise. This is the platform. It is a Google platform. I've highlighted the areas that I think are really important. One is this platform will be free to our staff and students. The second one is the next to the last bullet. The storage is incredible on these machines. And the last one, which is the most important to me, is it uses the district filters so that our students can't go out there and access things that parents or our community would not want them to. Library collections. This is another thing we've put on hold because of our state budget cuts, and I'll tell you what those are in just a second. For this next year, we provide German and Spanish from kindergarten all the way through high school. One of the questions I've been asked is why German, why Spanish? International baccalaureate programs tend to focus on German and Spanish. We've had an IB program in our high school since 1992, so it feeds directly into that program. And if you're looking at science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, German is one of the big languages for that, and Mandarin. We do not provide Mandarin because it's very difficult to find Mandarin-certified instructors. The expense of the library collections, when we've talked with different people, they said, we don't want just acceptable, we want you to move beyond that. So this would get us to, and TEA does these designations. And so through the TRE, we could get to exemplary status in our library collections within 3 years. Financial information. fact, we've lost almost $2.5 million from the state over the last 4 years. Honestly, we've lost about $14 million from the state, but some of that was made up for with the federal stimulus money. It was not a one-to-one correspondence. However, I didn't feel like it was fair to put up that figure. So the actual net decrease over the 4 years has been $2.479197. House Bill 5 restored $1.2 million of that. We will lose $600,000 in federal sequestration money this last year because of federal sequestration in this next year. We will use some of that $1.2 million from the state to make up those programs that we would have lost out of the loss of federal funds. And then we've been told that the teacher retirement system, the TRS system, the contributions will increase by district and employees. So quite a bit of that $1.2 million will be eaten up through either federal sequestration or the teacher retirement system required contribution. This is a comparison of Temple ISD and other school districts in the area. On the left-hand side of the screen is without a TRE. On the right-hand side is with a TRE. You'll see on both sides of the screen we're relatively low in our total tax rate in comparison with other school districts. The light green numbers like Hutto, Belton, Round Rock, and Georgetown, those are school districts that have passed TREs. If you look on the left-hand side of the screen, Killeen receives $63 million in impact aid every year, so you can understand why their overall tax rate would be pretty low. Eames ISD is maybe the highest, it's one of the highest property wealthy school districts in the state of Texas, so they generate a lot of money per penny of taxation, and so that's the reason that those fall lower than we do. On this chart, I told you earlier about a bond and a TRE. On the left-hand side of the screen under A is what would happen without a TRE, B is what happens with a TRE. And if you look at the dark blue down at the bottom, you'll see that the INS, that stands for interest in sinking or debt, tax rate remains the same. Because a TRE does not impact the INS or the interest in sinking or debt tax rate, because that can only pay for the bricks and mortar, the outside of the school. What a TRE impacts is the gray area up at the top, the M&O. And TRE revenue is generated every single year, so you can continue to use that money to keep those programs going. A TRE would generate us an additional $2.892910, $2,892,910 per year. On the right-hand side on A, we really anticipate that going higher because of the 2011 bond. It did not, because interest rates were so low that our payments were lower, and so we did not have to put as much taxation in to pay for our debt. Ballot language. I want to talk about this a little bit. This would put the tax rate for M&O, the maximum tax rate that an M&O can go by law is $1.17. We're at $1.04, most school districts are. We are asking for the taxpayers to consider moving that tax rate to $1.12, so we're not looking at the full $1.17. Our neighbors, Belton, they went for the $1.17. That's what their voters approved. That's not what we are requesting. The voting language is really important on the ballot. That's an additional 8 cents. However, on ballot language, they base that upon a rollback rate, and so it looks like 9 cents on the ballot, but it still comes out to the $1.12. It's the same. It's just a matter of language. Pennies generating. It generates, again, $2,892,910 per 8 cents. For that 8 cents, that's $80 a year for a $100,000 home, or $6.67 per month for a $100,000 home valuation. Again, taxpayers that are 65 years of age or older, the amount they pay is frozen. Property values can go up, tax rates can go up, but the amount that they pay remains frozen. And this is kind of a reiteration of what the TRE would fund. And these are voting dates, and there are voting dates all over the community at different locations and times that we hope are conducive to people coming and voting. Do you have any questions? if you need to know.
Council, any questions? All right. Dr. Battershell, thank you.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate you taking some time out of a busy agenda to hear from a part of your community. And, I look at it not as Temple ISD and CFT, but we're all the same. It's our children across the board. So, thank you. Appreciate the time.
You can after she sits down, but not publicly, because it's not on we're not posted for a public hearing on that. Next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may sign up to do so prior to this meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. No discussion or final action will be taken by the city council. We have quite a few people signed up to speak this evening, and so I'm going to try to group this by what everybody's speaking on, and so I'm going to skip around just a little bit. We have Amos Martinez, who's speaking on the ISD tax ratification. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Fabian Gomez. Thank you. Big good
opportunity to speak, and thank you for giving us the opportunity and to listen to what I have to say. And also, I do want to commend TISD for what they've done in the past few years and the strides that they're making and the momentum that's going for this district. My name is David Gomez. I have kids that went to TISD that graduated and still going. I do volunteer a lot of my time and personal money into this district because I believe in it. I chose the school district because of this diversity. I wanted my children to grow up in a very diverse school because that's the way we live in. And I say yes to vote for this because we need to give our children, those kids right there, a competitive chance in this world. Okay? And we want to give them a 21st century way. That's what we want to do. We want to invest into our children because it helps our community, and it also helps our businesses, and it just helps the whole community all around. And that's why I say vote yes. And we'll still be paying the least taxes out of, well, some of the least taxes out of the short area. And we're not going to buy much district either. Unless she has adequate money, don't what she has for now, but it's adequate. We want to be exemplary, and we can't do it with just adequate funds. So I say vote yes. And if you want to get some signs, we have some at the chamber, and I have some in my car if you want some. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Ann Thompson.
Good afternoon, chamber members, council members, and audience. Reminded of Judy standing back here when she got in the room and we couldn't see who she was because she was so short. So hopefully I can't see my head. If you don't see the rest of my body, that's just peachy. Thank you all for listening to me today. I will try to keep it as short as I can in my notes. I'm over here now because, for those of you who don't know me, I work for the United Way of Central Texas, and I'm very privileged to work with that organization. When I go out and do United Way presentations, and United Way, for those of you who may not know, is used to be a fundraising organization, not so much anymore, but that was kind of the premise of it. So I'm asking people constantly to give back to their communities. That's what I do for a living, ask people to give back to their community, whether it's in a dollar amount or whether it's in a volunteer amount or whether it's advocating for their communities. I hear over and over and over again from people who are making minimum wage, who give to United Way, who say, I'm so tired of being asked for money. I'm so tired of entitlements. I'm so tired of my money supporting the rest of society. And we're all tired of that. Well, entitlement is a terrible word, but entitlement comes, people are giving money because they don't have the basis to do it themselves. An education is one thing that's going to make a difference, not only in the student's life, but in our community's life. Without kids having not just an adequate education, but an outstanding education, we are not hurting those kids as much as we are hurting ourselves. I know when you get older and when you're on a fixed income or your finances are dwindling, but it's real hard. It's not like we have a pile of monopoly money, and every time we see an ad on the TV that we say, well, we'll give them some, we'll give them some, we'll give them some. So it's very easy to say, we think we can do it within the taxes we have now. That's an easy thing to say. But the truth of the matter is that one investment, whether you have a child in school or not, the one investment you need to make in your community is your education system. If you don't have a school system that people, it's a system of choice.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes,
I'm sorry if your time is...
Anyway, the importance of it is it has to be a system where people want to come back to your community, your kids want to go to that school, and you are reinforcing your workforce and your leadership in your community. Thanks, Danny, for the bell, because I would have gone for 30 minutes. Thank you, guys, and vote yes.
And there are a few people that didn't list what they were signing. Was there anyone else that signed up on the public comment comment sheet that wanted to speak on this specific issue. Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
All right. John Coleman.
Yes.
I'm John Coleman, 206 North 7th and Temple, a long time resident of the city of Temple. Been a business owner for a long time here, and it's a lot of challenges, a lot of work, and a lot of things around this town has it going and so forth. What does time again in my screen is whenever so often you see so many taxing entities keep asking for money, and money is a limited issue with a lot of us, and our goal is to run businesses, be able to make our livings and so on. I don't mind so much if a school gets a little extra money to do things, but I do have just one question. When they were showing on the ratings for the schools in the state of Texas and across the nation, Temple rated very low, and I have a real big problem with that. And so then that the product that's put out should be better than that. And if the teaching is doing the job that it should be with the money that they have received, the grades that Temple School District has gotten across this nation, across the state, is way too low and deplorable as far as I'm concerned about that. So I don't think throwing one out every issue is always the thing to do, because I think when you line out them everything, there are some things, yes, you have to pay for, you have maintenance keep up and so on, salaries and so on, but the product we put out is my bottom line. If you put out a product that is very poor, don't ask me to keep throwing money at it. And so that is my issue, that if you continue to ask, I understand with technology, everything that's in this budget, again, I'm trying to find out what is the problem with Temple schools rating so low. And I would like that issue addressed, and especially if you're going to ask us for money, because if you're not going to address that issue and you find out the truth about where this funding comes from, then I'm going to ask everybody to vote no on this, because I'm tired of throwing money down a deep hole and not getting what I consider our money's worth of a good product. Goodbye. Thank you very much.
All right. Here from Mr. C.J. Grisham.
C.J. Grisham with 2365 Airport Trail. Once again, I ask for the resignation of Chief Smith. Over the last 2 weeks since I last spoke with you guys, I've had 2 encounters, both negative, with police officers. During the open carry event that we were doing at board members, we were approached by officers and demanded that we identify ourselves, that we were doing nothing wrong. When we refused to identify ourselves, the officers stood guard in front of TCDI, where we were having a business meeting at the invitation of the night. And there's two police officers just standing there as if there's a truck line inside the building. And when the sergeant comes, when he gets called, because the officers don't like the fact that we're telling them to go away, and the sergeant comes and basically tells us that we shouldn't be doing what we're legally doing. Once again, Chief Smith is running a Fed army in the Temple Police Department. It's got to stop. I come around. I got emails last week from somebody that's an expert, I won't say who else, and the police officer was telling me about at the same time, and he says, hey, I was in, and I was having a conversation with you guys in Orchestra, Texas, and what they said, what caught my ear was, I can't wait till we just get them on something small, just something I can throw them in jail for. Is that the kind of police department that you guys have? They're looking for every opportunity to go out and work? Because these guys work for them. I don't work for them. For them to have a goal of throwing you in jail, as soon as the public raises confidence in this police force ceases to be able to do its job. And that's what's happening. I it's all around, and I said, no, because we've got police officers that may have 15-year-old kids. We have police officers that are 15-year-old kids, and we're going to pay in schools, more service positions, and we're going to turn out $1 million. I have to be taxed more. How about this?
Mr. Dean Molstrom.
I saved up my presentation and walked over here. It's, it won't cost you any money. In fact, I'm revenue positive. This is my only visual.
Mr. Molstrom, if you don't mind stating your name and address for the record.
Dean Molstrom, M-O-H-L-S-T-R-O-M, 518 West Zenith, very good address, right across from our new school, which is part of my topic I wanted to talk about. That's been a year of frustration, unbelievable anguish, and physical damage. They destroyed the neighborhood. Zenith Avenue used to be as far as you could go. It's top Zenith Avenue is the last street. The trees now have all been trimmed reluctantly with semi-trucks driving that back and forth. And that's one of my recommendations. What I'd like to see you do is consider at some point to appoint an ombudsman that is not in the construction trade necessarily, doesn't have any interest in making money from the city or state. Let him go over and talk to the neighborhoods, talk to the neighbors and see, how is this thing inconveniencing you, if at all, around upper COPD with the dust? You can't tear down 3 big buildings without stirring up a lot of dust. And boy, did they have dust. So I went there and I got a hose and I'm watering down the construction site. Steve decided to help me out, so he got a fire hose. All right, what the problem is? 2 days later, fire hose nozzle breaks. Then he constructed 2 water tanks that go up and down the street now and settle in the dust. Unbelievable, fantastic. It wouldn't have been done if it hadn't been for Steve and me tangling with him. Part of this is that this is the visual. If you can't picture the new school, Zenith Avenue is the last street, as you know. It's at the back door of the school. And then it goes up 11th Street, and Zenith goes over to 3rd Avenue and up to Walker. So you have Walker, 11th, Zenith, and 3rd Avenue. No school zone. The place where they let kids off and picked them up all day is at the top of the hill there. It used to be. Now it'll be different. Way different. But we were bitching about that this isn't a school zone, and you got people speeding through here. Look, and they put up 3 stop signs, all of which are run indiscriminately. And 30 mile, put a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on 11th going up to the disembarkment area. So, for some of their kids, declare that whole thing a school zone, please. The only people that own it now we've got a lot of semi-truck traffic on Zenith Avenue, since that's now a boulevard, speedway, etc. So we can create revenue to the police department by just standing there at my stop sign and issuing tickets for running stop line. The ombudsman, man, I don't know, thank goodness, Steve and I got a fairly decent relationship going.
Mr. Molstrom.
Yes.
Mr. Molstrom, I'm right here. You've now had your 3 minutes, if you don't mind.
Great. If you take my ombudsman thing, right, let me know you need a retired old man that'll stand up there and go bitch and hold the hands of neighbors. And I hope like crazy you do a school zone around our new school, which is probably one of the finest schools I've seen in a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Molstrom. Janet Sossaman.
Hello, my name is Janet Sossman. I live at 5208 Coach Top Drive. It's across the water park in 5th Street, Temple. I wanted to thank you for taking the zoning application FY 1328 off of the agenda. And I also wanted to state that in 2008, around that time, we had gone through a lot of discussion with that particular piece of land, talking about zoning it with single-family dwellings, planned development, all in alignment with the plan for Temple. And I wanted to just reiterate that several of the citizens here in Temple are definitely in favor of keeping it the way that it is zoned and not changing it to what the new developer had in mind. We want to make sure that the south gateway to Temple stays beautiful and that there's not an excessive amount of homes, apartments, and things like that, and that it's consistent with the homes that are already being built there as we speak. And in the future, if it comes up again, hopefully there won't be any double dipping or anything like that this time, but I would hope that we keep the zoning laws the way that it was agreed upon 5 years ago. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. William Leake.
To the Mayor, City Council, my name is William Leake. I live at 5120 Waterford Drive, and I come on behalf of the approval of the budget for East Temple Redevelopment and Revitalization. I do a lot of volunteer work here in the city. Even though I don't live there, I do have relatives that live in East Temple. I do a lot of volunteer work in East Temple, and I feel that the budget approval will help in facilitating new businesses in that area, also strengthen the existing businesses there now, and also opportunity for job training for people to get jobs and to be skilled for those jobs, and also provide ownership, home ownership, an opportunity for those who can get affordable homes. And so I do come in support of the budget approval, especially for the East Temple redevelopment and revitalization. And I do hope you consider in passing that budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Ms. Tanya Gray.
Good evening, Tanya Gray, Executive Director for Keep Temple Beautiful, speaking in regards to East Temple Revitalization and Redevelopment Plan. KTB sits on the 3 committees for the East Temple Revitalization and Redevelopment Plan that was identified by citizens and business stakeholders. This whole hurrah shows that we believe that this is a priority that needs to be addressed. To date, we have partnered with the small but tornado-like force that is Mayor Pro Tem Judy Morales, along with organizations, businesses, and others through community-wide cleanups, housing rehabs, landscape projects, development of community-oriented programs, and other endeavors. These initiatives expound upon a plan that is locally led and results-driven, raising the bar to enhance East Temple, yet better the city of Temple overall. In assisting Judy with presentations to community groups, we have noticed an outpouring of citizens who understand that the change that is sought will not come from the government alone, but also from citizens taking action. KTB believes that revitalization, redevelopment, and beautification are key aspects of economic development, playing a vital role in the growth of any city. In this case, the East Temple Revitalization and Redevelopment Plan. It is an integrated approach approach, allowing neighborhoods and citizens to reach their full potential. The plan is designed to catalyze and empower local action while encouraging public-private partnerships, making existing programs like KTV's Adopt a Street program, where citizens take responsibility for their communities, and the city's Adopt a Park program, where citizens assist in maintaining our parks more effective and efficient. We believe this proposal will assist Temple in becoming even more competitive for both business and citizen retention, expansion, and attraction. In essence, catalyzing change. For those and numerous other reasons, KTB would like to urge Council to fund and support the East Temple Revitalization and Redevelopment Plan, improving the quality of living for all citizens in the city of Temple. Thank you, Council members, Mayor Dale. I appreciate this time to speak.
Thank you. Cynthia Arriaga.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Arriaga. I live at 920 East Barton Avenue. I grew up on the east side and decided when I was going to have my children, I was moving away from the east side. And I did. But as my family still stayed there, so I kept coming back and coming back. And over the years, I've seen how the east side of Temple is getting better and better. And I ultimately bought my home on the east side of Temple. I think the east side of Temple really needs to remain in the budget because, like I said, I've come back. I've known a lot of other people that are coming back to the east side because they are saying that it's getting better. But if nothing's done, then I'm going to go back over there. And new businesses will really help. I know we've got the dollar store over there now, finally. I know I've talked to several people that's hoping someday we might even get a Walmart over there. So I don't have to drive on that side of town because we've noticed all of development has been everywhere. But it's time to put development back on the east side of town and bring it back to life instead of just letting it go. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item is a budget item. We have a public hearing to conduct the second of two public hearings to receive comments on the proposed tax rate of 58.64 cents per $100 valuation for the fiscal year 2014, which is 2013 tax year, and announce meeting to adopt the proposed tax rate on August 29, 2013.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, will just have a couple of slides, and then I'll certainly let you conduct the public hearing. And if you'll go to the second slide there for me, just two bullets. I'll remind you of the budget calendar that's left, and then one slide just on the proposed tax rate. August 15th, which is today, is the second public hearing that you're conducting on the proposed tax rate, and then on the 29th, in a couple of weeks, you're scheduled to consider adoption of the budget and then setting a tax rate that will support the budget for FY14. The FY14 proposed property tax rate is the same tax rate that is in the FY13 budget, 58.64 cents per $100 evaluation. That represents no change in the proposed, in the current tax rate to the proposed tax rate for next year. The proposal and the notifications, the advertising that we must run is in accordance with state law. But I did want to make a comment associated with the tax revenue that will be generated with the proposed tax rate, and that is that even though the tax rate remains the same, individual tax bills or tax amounts that are due by property owners will vary across the city. But they don't vary because the tax rate is changing. They vary because the value of the property as determined by the Bell County Tax Appraisal District may have changed the value on that individual piece of property. So I did a cursory check just earlier this afternoon on
just random properties, and some properties see a decrease based on the proposed tax rate, and some properties see an increase based on the proposed tax rate, which is again the same tax rate. But again, it depends on the value that's been assigned by the appraisal district for next year. Overall, across the city of Temple, those values have increased on the average, and that's why there is a tax revenue increase with the same tax rate. But again, it is very individualized to the properties and the values that have been assigned to those properties. And we just use as a example a $100,000 home and what that tax rate would generate per month for city property taxes. Again, that's the extent of my comments relative to the property tax rate that's being proposed. The entire budget, including information on the tax rate, is on file at our website. And again, those are the 2 dates that are remaining in the budget cycle this year. Be happy to address any questions if council has any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackburn. Council, any questions?
At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Dunn, citizens of City of Temple. I come to share my thoughts regarding...
Would you mind stating your name and address for the record?
Thank you very much. John Allen, 2816 Slough Drive, the great city of Temple, Texas. I want to ask you to please consider the rate of spending for the city of Temple. I am concerned about the rate of spending. I think that we need to possibly consider looking at the rate compared to the households that are struggling in the city. When I look at the burden that's placed on families and they look to budget their finances, we don't have the luxury of saying, you know, we've got some shortfalls here. We've got some expenditures that we don't expect, such as tax increases, federally, statewide, county, school districts, municipalities. It just seems our expenses are going up, but our salaries are remaining level. I wish we had the ability to do as you did, to say, well, let's just go to somebody's pocket and reach out and grab their wallet, let's open it up, and let's reach in and get them finances to pay for the things that we would like to have. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I love the city of Temple. I love our school district. I love our children. But there is a point where I get to a level of spending that is oppressive to the citizens of this great city. And I ask you to please slow down the spending. And I also ask you to please look at that spending and look at limiting that spending, especially if you can compare it to inflation and population. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
John Coleman, 206 North 7th here in Temple. Mayor Dunn, Mr. Davis, I'd like to say that I've seen what John has said about that. There comes a time when we just got to stop the bleeding and the spending that goes on all the time. Everybody wants a piece of the pie to go up all the time. The school, the county, the city, the federal government. And it comes time where I'm finally getting fed up and say enough is enough, and I'm going with these means like the rest of us do. Dig down and find ways that you can save money, cut your budgets, but don't everybody keep coming to dry out our wallets. You know, once they're like the bandits are there just coming and saying, yeah, let's come in and get that wallet and yank it just like he says. And I'm for one fed up with it. We have a economy that is not improving. We got a federal thing like the Obamacare that's coming and going to snatch enough money away from us that we don't even know. And then businesses got to look forward to failing or cut their employees' time and their salaries. And you all want to keep going up on the tax rates. I ask that you put a stop to it. Think about it. There's only so much money to go around. Most of us taxpayers are struggling with what we do have, and we don't get increases in our pay or anything as it goes. We just keep knowing everybody else wants more and more of that $100 bill we just got paid last week. And I am to the point that if these increases continue, I will take every month on the lake and do recall elections until we remove everybody who votes for tax increases. And I really mean that, and I think most of the taxpayers are fed up as can be with that. And I will take and sacrifice my time until I get every signature that's needed to do recall elections or whatever, until I get somebody's attention. So I ask that you vote against the tax increase and live within your means. Look at everybody else that has lived within their means that don't have this money to do that with. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Dora King. My address is 1115 South 12th Street here in Temple, Texas. I'm so grateful for Miss Tanya Gray and Miss Judy Morales. While we're on the subject of I closed on my home 3 years ago, and we want to talk about taxes. We can't get the conveyance, code enforcement, enforcing codes. We cannot get the conveyance of a street sweeper. We can't get the conveyance. Judy is only one person, and it had to be right from her our way. I agree with what the gentleman just said. Everyone's salary is not the same. I'm disabled right now. I'm under doctor's care. I have one income coming in. Also with Texas Revitalization. All these good things. But when he was mentioning his street by the school and the frustration, that we can't even get the basic things from the city of Temple that's needed in our area. East Temple is not in the boondocks. We are in the city limits. I speak on the behalf of East Temple and South 12th Street because it's been forgotten about. It's well down. I have taken it upon myself to get with Ms. Judy Morales, to even we've done some cleanups, to even myself personally work with whomever to help clean up East Temple, South 12th. It's just like I said, I'm a taxpayer like anyone else, but we can't even get the basic code to be enforced. We have a city employee who lives next door, and he wouldn't believe it by the word in the house. I'm not here to criticize anyone, because I don't even feel very well. But I agree with this gentleman. You can get all this high-tech stuff at the school, but it's just what it is. It's an F. Temple School gets an F. But back to the tax-paying subject, I'm paying taxes, I guess, just to really just live in this house I closed on 3 years ago. Until Judy came in and working with Miss Gray, 12th Street really didn't have a good reputation, but as I told Judy, when the city come in and do their part, residents do their part. Christmas time, I was the only one had up lights. Other people now will put up their lights. We can make decisions that's affecting other people's lives, but just the basic things, the city's job, the sewer, when I was on the east side of life with Miss Morales, the comment was their money goes underground. That's why I continue suffering with sewage, the climate, I will come and clean out today. Well, it's not just my address. The further east you go, the worse it gets. I've even told my doctor I think it has something to do with it. But the only thing I'm asking for, if I'm going to pay taxes, which I have to if I want to live on that property, why can't I and my community get the basic necessities that South 31st gets, 21st Street gets, the North South gets, and the decision that this county makes affects everyone. But when you come and visit my community, Mayor Don, I welcome you. Starting with you. I want to invite this whole my Julie's already been there. I would like to invite you to Foxwell Street. I would like to invite you to come and just ride around and just look. You might not never see it again, but I invite you to come and see that everyone's not on welfare. Everyone's not just I come on by profession to my health.
If you could just...
My point is, when we're making a decision, when you consider the taxes that's already being paid when we get the adequate city service.
Thank you.
City Official 3365 Report Trail. 2 weeks ago, we had a city council meeting, we increased the garbage fees 40 cents. And now we've got the school district asking for more money. And we have to realize that as tax rates go up, this affects even non-homeowners. Because the property owners are going to have higher bills to pay, which means that the people renting those houses, if they're renting because they can't afford to buy a house, are going to end up having to pay more rent. And what Mr. Coleman said is right on track. I mean, I'm glad that the tax rate, the city's not going up. I did say that in the same, but the rest of the area where we live, I can't drive down my road without hitting a pothole. And I used to come out every week and complain about it, and I realized I was just speaking to the wall because it doesn't get fixed. But if we're going to be paying those fees, and all these extra tax rates, I mean, we're asking people for money when we're not getting the basic services that we're already paying for. And now the tax thing is different from this tax rate, but what exactly and where is this money being spent? We need as a city to make sure we're allocating that money correctly, that we're using it judiciously, remembering that when we put a percentage up there, and we put 24 cents here and 50 cents there, that's our 50 cents. And that's our 40 cents for trash, or $1 per $100 or $100,000 property, whatever it is. That's all the money that's being left from us. And we're talking about the 2014 budget right now, and while we're in city, municipal area, we're about to feel the hell of the federal government. And we're being able to unleash the county around the people by way of tax increases and fee increases and this increase and that increase and having to buy this and having to purchase that. And so every time you guys think about an extra quarter here or 40 cents there, try to look at the big picture and all those people that are having to build up even more and move with those words. And just vote against any tax increases right now, because the future is just too uncertain and people are running out of their pockets.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
My name is Bill Lawton. I live at 3008 West Avenue T. Question for Mr. Blackburn. The effective tax rate from this year to last year.
4.84 cents per percent. The proposed rate is 4.84% above the effective rate. If you want the actual rate, just 1 second lower.
Well, the difference between last year and this year, what you're proposing to what we have presently.
Can you go up the tax rate slide, please?
Yeah, I think...
Go up the slide.
Yeah, I think he's asking for the effective tax rate.
That's exactly right.
Versus the actual property tax rate.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime you have an effective tax rate that stays the same or goes up, it is a tax increase. We put up a notice from Temple, this is a tax increase. We've been to city council meetings, we have authorized tax abatement through the economic development corporation for many places around here for highways and multiple years. Are we going to pay for this on the backs of the taxpayers? We should not. This is what's happening. As far as The Timberland Pettit School District, which is a totally different story, only 37% of the money goes to the classroom. It's been proven by the Redevelopment project. Both of those should be voted down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shrub. Anyone further? There being no further comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. The meeting to adopt the proposed tax rate is set for a special called meeting on Thursday, August 29th, 2013, at 8:30 a.m. in the City Council chambers. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under this section, consent agenda, are considered to be routine by the City Council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member and will be considered separately. Council, this item is through 5A through 5X. Are there any items that you wish to remove for the separate consideration or discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion for approval.
Second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Fowle?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider? Mayor Pro Tem Morales? Mayor Dunn?
Aye. Regular agenda item 6, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a zoning change from agricultural district to single-family dwelling on 17.65 acres being part of the SP Terry Survey, abstract number 812 in Bell County, Texas, located on the north side of FM 2305, east of Arrowhead Point Road. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Council members, again, this is a zone change from general agriculture to SF1 district. The applicant is Brad Dusick in this case. The subject property is located on the north side of West Adams, FM 2305, and east of Arrowhead Point Road. This is before the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 15th. Tonight, August 15th, is the first reading, and September 3rd is the scheduled second reading for this. Subject property contains approximately 17.65 acres. The City of Temple Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Plan identifies the property as a state residential district. There's a 6-inch water line in FM 2305 that fronts the property, and a 12-inch sewer line in FM 2305 approximately 8/10 of a mile to the east of the subject property. Just some general photos of the site and the surrounding area. This is looking north toward the subject property from FM 2305. I believe there is a single-family residence on this property, but it may be hard to see in this photograph. Some of the surrounding properties to the south are scattered single-family residential and non-residential uses. To the north are single-family, primarily the Eagle Oaks at the Lakes subdivision that is developed. To the east and to the west are mixed residential and non-residential uses. The property as identified in the future land use plan is within the state residential district. This is for rural residential development on larger lots on the city fringes. The SF1 zoning does not completely comply with the future land use plan, however. In terms of zoning, there is SF1 that is adjacent and north of the subject property. And it can be seen in this area. This is the developed single-family residential, and the property is identified by the arrow and bordered by the black border line. The SF1 for allowed uses, specifically residential uses, does allow detached single-family residences, family group home, industrial housing, non-residential uses that are allowed in SF1, farm and ranches, park and playgrounds, a fire station, gas line regulating stations. Examples of prohibited uses include but not limited to basically HUD code manufactured homes, duplexes or apartments, and all commercial and industrial uses with the exception of a number of uses permitted with an approved conditional use permit. Examples of those would include but not limited to temporary asphalt batching plants, petroleum and gas well, cemetery, crematory, mausoleum. Again, those are uses that would be allowed with a conditional use permit and would come before not only the planning commission, but come before the city council for final decision. Just a quick comparison between the general agriculture and the SF1 district. A minimum of 7,500 square foot per lot is allowed within the single family. Sidewalks are required on both sides of arterials. FM 2305 is a major arterial, and the 6-foot sidewalk will be required at the time of development. 17 notices were mailed, 4 were returned, received by staff, 2 were in agreement, and 2 were in disagreement. In closing situations where the proposed zoning does not agree with the future land use map, staff takes the following into account. 1, is the proposed land consistent with the comprehensive plan and future land use plan? 2, do surrounding uses seem compatible and similar to the proposed zoning? And 3, do surrounding zoning designations seem compatible or similar to the proposed rezoning? In the case of number 1, the answer would be no. This was identified earlier in my presentation that the request is not completely consistent with the future land use plan. In the case of considerations 2 and 3, the answer would be yes. There is established SF1 adjacent and north of the subject property and will extend the same type of use already established in the area and continue the suburban pattern of development in the area. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request for zone change from the general agriculture to the single-family one for the following reasons. And although the request does not completely comply with the future land use map, it is consistent with the adjacent SF1 district to the north and with the suburban character of the area. 2, the request complies with the thoroughfare plan. 3, the proposed zoning is compatible with the surrounding uses, and 4 public facilities are available to serve the subject property. At the July 15th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 to approve ZSFY 1327 per staff's recommendation. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available should you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Council, any questions? This is scheduled for a public hearing. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Being no one wishing to speak, I will declare the public hearing closed. Council, your pleasure on the first reading of this ordinance.
Motion to approve. Second.
Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales? Aye. Mayor Dunn?
Aye. Under Resolutions Number 7, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the revised preliminary plat of Valley Ranch Edition, a 39.3-acre, 94-lot residential subdivision with a requested exception to Unified Development Code, Section 8.2.1, allowing the use of local rural streets with 50-foot wide rights-of-way and 28-foot wide streets, back to curb to back of curb, located at the southwest corner of FM 93 and Dubose Road. Smiley.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have the plat shown on the screen, and basically it's just on the plat you can see this is South 31st Street. I'm sorry, FM 93, sorry about that. And then we have Dubose Road. And so basically this is a revision to the existing preliminary plat for the Valley Ranch Edition. And so this revised preliminary plat is only for the west side of the Dubose Road, which is mostly within the county. Only the first 50 feet from the right-of-way along FM 93 is within the city limits. Just to give you some background on the plat, DRC deemed this administratively complete on June the 12th of 2013. The property at that time was zoned Plan Development Urban Estates District. The developer is pursuing a zone change that is for Plan Development Single Family 1. You did approve this at the last City Council meeting. These were both tracking at the same time, but this plat was tabled, and I'll get into that in a little while. So basically, this plat proposes amending the existing preliminary plat of Valley Ranch Edition, which was approved by City Council with Resolution 2004-4086-R, and with that, it combined 135 residential lots with non-residential lots on 95.847 acres. The revised preliminary plat of Valley Ranch Edition proposes to amend only the residential portion of the development on the west side of DuBose Road, as I mentioned. The amendment proposes 94 single-family lots, which is an increase of 38 lots from the 56 single-family lots originally approved by Resolution 2004-4086-R in this section of the Valley Ranch development. Those results are a 67% increase in density within the amended area with an average density of 2.39 lots per acre. The density increase triggers a need for local street standards, which are 31-foot wide streets, which are measured from back of curb to back of curb. The developer requests an exception to the UDC Section 8.2.1, allowing the use of local rural street standards with the 50-foot right-of-way and 28-foot wide streets, which are also measured back to curb and back to curb. Water will be provided to the subdivision through proposed 6-inch and 8-inch water lines, and wastewater services will be provided through an existing 10-inch wastewater line and proposed 6-inch and 8-inch wastewater line. And then as far as the Parkland Dedication, Parkland Dedication for Valley Ranch Edition increases $8,550. That is for the 38 additional residential lots at $225 per lot. The dedication to the city for an additional 0.973 acres of land for parcels D and E for the Parkland. Those are included. What I'm going to read you is just the way they plan to meet the Parkland dedication requirements. And so basically the additional acreage will become a green belt within the subdivision, providing Valley Ranch residents access to and from the park with access to future residents of adjacent properties to the west, and ultimately connecting to the Central Texas Christian School and any future trail systems beyond. Also, that includes credit for land dedication of $5,838. That's 50% of the $12,000 per acre value times the 0.973 acres, and the developer will invest an additional $2,712 in Valley Ranch Edition park improvements. And so the development commitment for the playground and land dedication includes additional parkland that will be dedicated to the city when the surrounding property is final platted, and the developer will complete the Valley Ranch Edition park improvements prior to final acceptance of the initial phase of the revised preliminary plat. So staff recommendation is for approval of the revised preliminary plat of Valley Ranch Edition, subject to City Council approval of the developer's requested exception to UDC Section 8.2.1, allowing the use of local rural streets with 50-foot wide right-of-way and 28-foot wide streets, back of curb, back of curb. And at its June 17th, 2013 meeting, the P&Z Commission voted 9-0 to recommend approval of the revised preliminary plat of Valley Ranch Edition with the developer's requested exception to UDC Section 8.2.1, allowing the use of local rural streets with 50-foot right-of-way and 28-foot wide streets with the back of curb to back of curb. So if you have any questions, I am available for those.
Thank you, Ms. Farley. Council, any questions, comments? There's no discussion. Do I have a motion on this?
So make a motion for approval?
Second.
I'll second.
Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Cloud?
Abstain.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales? Mayor Dunn?
Aye. Item 8, consider adopting a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Brayson Crossing, a 6.008-acre, 9-lot, 1-block residential subdivision with a requested exception to Unified Development Code related to Parkland Dedication and fire apparatus access roads located in the western ETJ at the northeast corner of FM 439 and Sparta Loop. Ms. Riley.
The applicant for the Brayson Crossing addition has requested that this item be pulled and allowed to be on the agenda for the next city council meeting.
A motion to table.
Motion table.
Second.
Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Dunn?
Next item on the agenda.
Mayor Dunn?
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, aye. I've gotten so far, and I've been doing a really good job, and then this happens. All right. Item 9. Consider, and this is item 9A through E, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 19.86-acre tract of land near the City of Temple's landfill. B, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 49.94-acre tract of land near the City of Temple's landfill. Item C, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of approximately a 110.72-acre tract of land near the City of Temple's landfill. Item D, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 10-acre tract of land near the City of Temple landfill. And E, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 10-acre tract of land near the City of Temple landfill. Mr. Graham.
Mayor and members of the council, we've discussed this item in executive session. The city has been acquiring property for some time near the landfill for future expansion of our landfill, and as we discussed earlier today in our workshop in executive session, we are prepared to recommend the acquisition of 5 tracts that were listed on the agenda items you read, and I will read those purchase prices to you. The the first item A is a 19.86-acre tract of land at 1446 Bob White with a purchase price of $160,000 for the land and improvements on it, and estimated closing costs of $7,807.43. And the item also would authorize a lease back of the property for 3 years. Item B is a 49.94-acre tract of land located at 990 Bob White Road for the purchase price of $714,000 with improvements, with an estimated closing cost of $6,307.43 and a lease back for the period of 5 years. Item C is a 110.72-acre tract of land located at 4769 Meadowlark Lane with a purchase price of $800,000 for improvements, with estimated closing costs in the amount of $6,307.43, and authorizing a lease back of the property for 5 years. Item D is a 10-acre tract located at 4435 Little Flock Road for the purchase price of $80,000 with improvements, with estimated closing costs in the amount of $7,107.43, and authorizing a lease back of that property for 5 years. The final item, item E, is a 10-acre tract of land located at 896 Bob White Road for the purchase price of $435,000 with improvements, with an estimated closing cost of $5,107.43,
$1,807.43. I'm not sure where all those 43 cents came from, but it's an estimate. And authorizing a lease back to that property for a period of 5 years as well. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Council, are there any questions? Council, if there's no further discussion, is there a motion?
Motion to approve item 9A through E as read by our city attorney.
Is there a second? Sorry. Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Dunn?
Aye. Item 10, board appointments. Consider adopting a resolution appointing members to the following city boards and commissions. This is where I thought I was going to really mess up. I'm going to, we have A, the Airport Advisory Board, 5 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016. B, Building and Standards Commission, 1 member to fill an unexpired term through March 1st, 2015. Item C, Civil Service Commission, 1 member to fill an expiring term through September 1st, 2016. Community Services Advisory Board, 3 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016. E, the Killeen Temple Metropolitan Planning Organization, 1 member to fill a position on the K-Tempo Board Policy Board, and authorizing the city manager to make necessary staff appointments to the Technical Committee. The Library Board, 3 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016. And Planning and Zoning Commission, 3 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016, and 1 member to fill an unexpired term through September 1st, 2015. Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Board of Directors, 8 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2015. Temple Economic Development Corporation, 4 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016. Temple Public Safety Advisory Board, 6 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016. 1 member to fill an unexpired term through September 1st, 2015, and 2 members to fill unexpired terms through September 1st, 2014. And the Transit Advisory Committee, 3 members to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2015. And we did have the opportunity to visit about this in the workshop, and I'm going to read all of these, and then I will, if it's acceptable to everyone, we'll take this all in one motion with the exception of item number 10D, which we'll pull for voting purposes. The Airport Advisory Board. Reappoint Craig Cadell, Vernon Starnes, David Jones, and Jim Kent. And appoint Alan Talling. This is to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016. Building and Standards. Appoint Jeff Bird to fill an unexpired term through March 1st, 2015. Civil Service Commission to reappoint Justice Bigby to fill an expired term through September 1st, 2016. Item E, K-Tempo, appoint Councilmember Tim Davis to fill position on the Policy Board and authorize City Manager to make appointments to the Technical Committee. Library Board, we don't have any recommendations at this time. Planning and Zoning Commission to reappoint Will Sears and appoint Omar Crisp and Blake Pitts to fill terms through September 1st, 2016. And appoint Thomas Rehack to fill an unexpired term through September 1st, 2015. Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Board of Directors, no recommendations at this time. Temple Economic Development Corporation, reappoint James Kent, Greg McLean III, Greg Strasburger to fill expiring terms through September 1st, 2016, and appoint Harry Macy III as the Chamber of Commerce representative to fill an expiring term through September 1st, 2016. Temple Public Safety Advisory Board, we can reappoint Rebecca Rucker, Joyce Adams, Adam Sorholtz, Billy Bogucki, Margaret Goodwin, and appoint Sammy Rags, and on the reappointment to fill expiring terms through September 2016, and appoint Sammy Ragsdale. And the Transit Advisory Board, we have no recommendations at this time. And once again, I will entertain a motion to take items 10A through K with the exception of item D.
Make a motion to approve.
Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Dunn.
Aye. And item number 10D, the Community Services Advisory Board. I'll take that separately. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion to approve 10D.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Abstain.
Mayor Dunn.
Aye. Next item is number 11, consider adopting a resolution appointing one member to represent the city on the Central Texas Council of Governments Executive Committee. And former Mayor Jones was in that position, and if it pleases the council, I'd be glad to take that position. And Mayor Pro Tem Morales, you've been good to serve as the alternate for that, so thank you. And are there any questions?
Move for approval. Second.
Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Dunn.
Aye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of the Temple City Council is adjourned.